Inside the grand palace of Placentia in Greenwich, church bells rang across the city as a royal child entered the world. The infant was a girl. Her name was Mary Tudor. For most royal families, the birth of a daughter was a celebration, but often a quiet one. Kings wanted sons. Queens were expected to produce heirs. Princes secured dynasties. Princesses were different. They were often raised not to rule, but to marry. Yet from the moment Mary was born, her life was never going to be ordinary. She was the only surviving child of King Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Her father was one of Europe's most powerful monarchs. Her mother was one of its most respected queens. Mary was born into splendor, but also into expectation. She was a Tudor, and that name carried enormous weight. As a child, Mary was adored. Her father loved her deeply in those early years. He called her his pearl. Visitors to court praised her intelligence. Even as a little girl, she showed unusual discipline. She learned Latin, Spanish, music, religion, and statecraft. Her mother ensured she was educated to the highest standard. Mary became fluent in several languages. She played instruments beautifully. She understood theology better than many adults around her. And she carried herself with royal dignity. Some believed that if England ever allowed a woman to rule, Mary would be more than capable. But England did not believe in queens. Not ruling queens. That was the problem. Her father needed a son. And despite years of marriage, no living prince had survived. That failure haunted the king. At first, Mary did not understand what was happening. She was still a child when her parents' marriage began to collapse. At court, whispers spread. Her father wanted his marriage annulled. He claimed marrying Catherine had been wrong from the beginning. Mary's mother refused to accept it. She insisted she was the rightful queen. She fought with dignity. And Mary watched it all. A daughter seeing her family torn apart. Then came another woman. Anne Boleyn. Young, clever, ambitious. Mary quickly understood what Anne represented. Not just a new queen. A threat. If Anne produced a son, Mary's future could disappear overnight. And when Henry broke from the Catholic Church to marry Anne, Mary's world changed forever. Her mother was removed from court. Mary was separated from her. She was forbidden from seeing her own mother. Imagine that. A teenage girl. Her mother alive. Yet she was not allowed even to visit her. It broke Mary's heart. But it did not break her loyalty. She refused to recognize Anne as queen. She refused to deny her mother. And for that, she paid a heavy price. Henry punished her. Her title was stripped away. She was no longer officially Princess Mary. She was declared illegitimate. A bastard. A devastating word. It meant she was no longer considered a lawful heir. No longer fully royal. No longer secure. Everything she had known was taken from her. Her household was reduced. Her servants dismissed. Her status destroyed. And still, she refused to bend. That stubbornness would define her entire life. Her mother, Catherine, was sent away. They never saw each other again. In 1536, Catherine died. Mary was not allowed to attend her funeral. She mourned alone. Not long afterwards, Anne Boleyn herself fell. Accused of treason. Arrested. Executed. The woman Mary had feared was gone. But the damage remained. Mary was still declared illegitimate. Still politically weak. Still vulnerable. Then her father demanded something from her. He wanted her signature. A written declaration. She had to admit that her parents' marriage had been invalid. She had to accept that she was illegitimate. And she had to recognize her father as supreme head of the church. It was everything she believed was false. Her Catholic faith told her this was wrong. Her loyalty to her mother told her this was betrayal. But refusing could mean prison. Or worse. Mary was 20 years old. Alone. Surrounded by pressure. Eventually, she signed. Many historians believe she did so through tears. Not because she believed it. Because she had no choice. It was survival. But inside, she never truly accepted it. Never. That mattered later. Over the next decade, Mary watched as England changed dramatically. Churches were altered. Catholic rituals were removed. Latin prayers disappeared. Religious images were destroyed. The country her mother loved was vanishing. Mary hated it. Quietly, patiently, she waited. When Henry died in 1547, the throne passed his young son, Edward VI. Edward was only 9 years old. Real power lay with his advisors. And they pushed England even further toward Protestantism. For Mary, this was unbearable. She openly continued hearing Catholic Mass in private. This angered the government. Officials demanded she stop. Mary refused. Again. Always the same. Mary would not compromise her faith. Not for kings. Not for councils. Not even for survival. At one point, war with the Holy Roman Emperor was feared because of Mary's religious defiance. That is how politically dangerous she had become. A single woman. A private chapel. And Europe was watching. Then came 1553. Everything changed. Edward VI was dying. He was only 15. Too young. Too sick. And terrified that England might return to Catholicism if Mary inherited the throne. So he tried to stop her. A new succession plan was written. Mary was excluded. Instead, a young Protestant noblewoman was named heir. Her name was Lady Jane Grey. Jane never wanted the crown, but others wanted it for her. When Edward died, Jane was declared queen. Mary was suddenly in mortal danger. If captured, she could be executed. She fled into the countryside. Many thought she would lose. They were wrong. Mary moved quickly. She wrote letters. She gathered supporters. And something extraordinary happened. England answered. Nobles joined her. Soldiers joined her. Ordinary people joined her. Why? Because many believed she was the lawful heir. And because Mary Tudor had something people respected. Endurance. She had survived humiliation, loss, political destruction, religious persecution. And she was still standing. Her support grew rapidly. Within days, the government in London collapsed. Its leaders abandoned Jane Grey. They switched sides. Mary entered London in triumph. Crowds lined the streets. People cheered. Church bells rang. After decades of pain, Mary Tudor had won. At 37 years old, she became queen. Not queen consort. Not princess. Queen. The first woman in English history to rule in her own right without dispute. It was historic. And Mary knew it. She entered London beside her younger half-sister, Elizabeth I. The image was powerful. 2 Tudor sisters. 2 future queens. But their beliefs could not have been more different. Mary was Catholic. Elizabeth was Protestant. Their relationship would shape England's future. But for now, Mary had one mission. To restore the faith she believed England had betrayed. To bring back Catholicism. To reverse everything her father and brother had changed. She believed she was chosen by God. Not simply to rule. To save souls. And that belief would drive every decision she made. At first, many supported her. People welcomed stability. They wanted peace after years of religious chaos. Mary moved carefully. At least initially. Catholic ceremonies returned. Church decorations were restored. Latin prayers returned. Priests resumed old rituals. To Mary, it felt like healing. Like bringing England home. But not everyone agreed. Resistance grew. Especially among Protestants. And Mary's patience began to thin. She saw opposition not as politics, but as heresy. And to a deeply religious 16th century monarch, heresy was not disagreement. It was danger. Danger to the nation. Danger to eternal souls. That belief would soon turn deadly. Then came another major decision. Marriage. Mary needed an heir. She was 37. Time was running out. Without children, England's future could pass to Elizabeth.
By modern standards, yes. Burning people alive is horrific. There is no soft way to describe it. But was she uniquely cruel for her era? Not necessarily. Her father had executed opponents. Her sister would execute opponents. Religious violence scarred all of Europe. Mary's tragedy was that her chosen method became unforgettable. Flames are hard to erase from memory. Yet if we look beyond the smoke, another figure appears. A woman of extraordinary endurance. A woman who lost almost everything as a child and still fought her way to a throne. A woman who refused to surrender her beliefs, even when it cost her comfort, status, and peace. A woman history often reduced to a single nickname. But she was more than a nickname. She was Mary Tudor. Daughter, princess, outcast, survivor, queen. And whether history judges her kindly or harshly, one fact remains undeniable. She changed England forever. Her reign forced the nation to confront a difficult question. What kind of kingdom did England want to become? Catholic or Protestant? Traditional or reformed? Past or future? Mary answered one way. Elizabeth answered another. The struggle shaped the nation that followed. And perhaps that is Mary's true legacy. Not simply the fires. Not simply the fear. But the fact that her life stood at the crossroads of English history. A woman born unwanted as an heir. A queen who fought to defend her faith. A ruler who won a crown against the odds. And a human being whose pain, conviction, and flaws still echo through the centuries. If this story changed the way you see Mary Tudor, then history has already done its job. Because real history is rarely simple. It is human. And humanity is always more complicated than legend. If you want more true stories from history, stories of kings, queens, empires, and the people who changed the world, make sure you subscribe, stay with us, and join us for the next journey into the past.